So you've decided to build your own guitar. Congratulations! It's a fun and exciting project. But before you start to head down that path, you need to ask yourself the question, should you really build that guitar? Stay tuned and I'll explain. Recently I posted up a couple of videos where I explained how I had made a couple of tools that I use when I build guitars. One of those tools is my radius sanding block that I carved out of a chunk of aluminum using my CNC machine. And if you'd like to see that video, I'll post a link up above. The other tool I made is this little sandpaper holder. It's made out of a piece of aluminum, and basically what it's designed to do is hold a small piece of sandpaper while I am sanding out the tool marks that are left in the frets after leveling and recrowning the frets. Well, after those videos were posted, a viewer commented with the question, why make tools when you can just buy them? Well, in truth, you could take that a step further and ask, why build a guitar when you can just buy one? And if you really want to take it a step further, you could ask the question, why pay to have a fret job done on your guitar when you can just go out and buy a new guitar? That's especially true with the price of some of the guitars out there today. Of course, I'm deliberately overlooking the fact that the instrument which needs to be refretted might be a valuable vintage instrument, or it might have a lot of sentimental value to the person who owns it. Regardless, the point I'm trying to make is, if you're going to build a guitar, you need to take into consideration the amount of time and the amount of skill you're going to need, the tools that will be required. And ultimately, you'll have to decide, is that really where you want to focus your effort? Let me give you an example of my own experience. About 20 years ago, I had decided that I was going to try to improve my skill as a guitar player. And I knew that meant I was going to have to spend a lot of time practicing, much more time than I actually really had. Well, about the same time as I started to try to improve my skills, my son, who was about 8 or 9 at the time, decided he wanted to learn how to play guitar. So I purchased for him a cheap Squier Stratocaster so that he could kind of cut his teeth, so to speak. And it would give us a chance to see if that was really something he was going to be interested in and would stick with. Well, he did stick with it. And it became obvious that he was really interested in playing. So he came to me and said, "Can I get a better guitar?" And I asked him, well, okay, what kind of guitar do you want? He said, "I want a Gibson SG Angus Young signature model." Well, I took a look at the price of that and I said, you know, if you want that, you're going to have to save up all your allowance. You're going to have to sock away all your Christmas money, your birthday money, and you might even have to start mowing lawns in the summertime and shoveling walks in the wintertime to save up the money to buy that. And it's going to take a while to save the money. Well, without batting an eye, he asked me if I could build the guitar for him. And the reason he asked me that is because I had made some toys for him when he was a kid. Well, I'm hardly one to back down from a challenge, especially if it's coming from my own child. So I decided to take him up on the challenge, and I built him a guitar. Well, as soon as I finished building that guitar, and as a matter of fact, this is that guitar. This is the very first guitar I built a little over 20 years ago. And we're going to try and clean the fretboard and do a fret job on it, get it back into the same condition it was 20 years ago. But after I built that guitar, I had discovered that I had found my passion. I loved building guitars. I loved designing them, and then I loved building them. So that kind of started me down the path of building guitars. Well, because I was now shifting my focus to building guitars, I could no longer focus on improving my skills as a guitar player. And I really tried, but I just didn't have the time to do it. So guitar playing sort of fell by the wayside and was replaced by guitar building. And as it stands now, I hardly ever play the guitar anymore, or I should say I don't play as much as I used to or would like to. but I am now focused entirely on building guitars. Well, that kind of leads me to pose the question to you, if you're considering building a guitar, is do you have that time to focus on building the guitar? Can you shift it away from other aspects of your life? Now, before you say yes, you have to decide, is that really what you want to do? And also ask yourself, are all the great guitar players out there shifting their attention away from playing guitar to building guitars? And the answer would be no. They let other people do that. So I think when it comes to building guitars, what you really have to do is you have to decide whether that's a priority. And if it's not a priority, then what you would do is continue to improve your skills on guitar until you can justify spending the money on a custom-built guitar, a guitar that's made exactly to the specifications that you want. And then the same is true with making tools. You don't have to make your own tools. You can easily buy the tools. For example, this little sandpaper holder, this isn't something I invented. This is just a knockoff of other tools that are similar to it out there. However, I had the time, I had the materials, the tools, and the skills to make my own tool. So I set aside about an hour and I whipped this thing out. But that's not necessarily what everybody's going to be capable of when it comes to building tools for their guitars. You may not have the time to make your own tools. In fact, if you're a luthier who's extremely busy with tons of orders and multiple guitars being manufactured or produced all at once, you're probably not going to have time to step aside and make a tool for, recrowning your frets. You're going to probably want to purchase a ready-made tool so that you don't, or you can focus on what's important, and that's building and finishing your guitars rather than making tools. But if all you're doing is making a couple of guitars, or maybe you're assembling a kit guitar, making a tool like this is not that big a deal, and you can easily do that. So if you want to, take the plunge and try your hand at making a tool, then I would certainly encourage you to do it. But if you can't, if you just don't have the time, don't attempt it. Don't worry about just purchasing a tool from an online retailer or from a manufacturer. It's going to save you time and allow you to focus on what's at hand. And so ultimately, I think, with this video, what it comes down to is priorities and where you want to focus your time. Just because you play guitar and you love guitars and you're totally interested in guitars and your whole world is about guitars, doesn't necessarily mean you have to make a guitar. Yeah, that's a great part of the experience if you've got the time, but you have to decide whether or not you want to focus on, the time it's going to take to build the guitar, or whether you'd be better off putting that time towards more practice to improve your skills as a guitar player. At any rate, that's what I wanted to say in this video, and I hope that you found it useful, perhaps inspiring, and maybe it'll help you to make the decision to build your own guitar, or to find a luthier who can build the guitar of your dreams for you. Either way, it's a win-win situation. So as always, be sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. If you want to help support my channel and what I do here, head over to eguitarplans.com and purchase a plan for a guitar or one of the other tools that I use in building guitars. And even if you don't make the plan, just know that your purchase will help support this channel. And if you would like to support the channel but don't want to buy a plan, you can also buy a Highline Guitars t-shirt. If you look down on the merch shelf below this video, you can see I have a selection of t-shirts that you can purchase. And if you don't see that shelf, there is a link in the description below. So in the meantime, as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.